Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are here at the Sebring SpeedTour, high above from our drones. So excited to start the 2025 season, but I want to introduce motorsport legend Ralph Shaheen will be with us in the booth all season long. Ralph, I know you've done many races here, including the 12-hour, but welcome to SVRA and SpeedTour.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah, this is going to be a great weekend. Really looking forward to it, and a fantastic year ahead.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a new group with us, Live Race Services. This is just qualifying. We usually don't live stream this, but we're kind of using this as a dress rehearsal. Our comment section here on YouTube on SpeedTour TV is kind of lighting up. I see people throwing some hearts up there. We really appreciate that. Let us know if you have any information on these cars or drivers, and we'll call you out and use your expertise. But right now we're watching qualifying with just a little bit of information because we're just making sure everything works. But right now all of the images are looking absolutely fantastic. This is Group 11. We've got Group 7 out there. This is just qualifying, like I said, for SVRA. But this is going to be a fantastic weekend. So this is SVRA Groups 5A, 7, 11, and the Prototype Sprint Series Association. And you can see high above there the flag. They just paved that roundabout here around the flag just a couple of years ago. And Ralph, welcome back to Sebring, and I'm very excited to learn from your expertise and be in the booth with you.
Well, we'll see if you feel that way when the weekend is over, Ben.
Well, you have full permission to, yell at me or tell me where I get things wrong, because I do want to be correct.
No, it's not that. We'll see how professional you think I am when this is all said and done.
There's one of those new Dallara EXPs. They're a new marketing partner here with us in SpeedTour. Happy to have them out here. I think they're going to be running with us in PSSA, as are these two Radicals that you see going around there.
Yeah, that was Joe Cawley in that Dallara, number 39. Here's a look at the front straightaway, of course. Down into turn number 1, looking at the 379. Gary Gray, that's one of those Radicals you were talking about, out of Bowling Green, Virginia.
Gary Gray, one of my favorite people in the paddock, just a super nice guy. He's been in a Radical with us for a couple of years now. He might join us in the booth. Loves coming up into the booth and talking to us. So great to have him out here running with the Radicals. And we've got some Revolutions out there in the PSSA group presented by Hankook Tires. And then now the new Dallaras. And I'm going to go down and talk to the people at the Dallara booth and try to get us some information. Those cars are for sale. They can run with us in PSSA, in club racing, but they look, knowing what we know about the IndyCar chassis, they know how to set up a car.
Oh, yeah. Dallara's been around for a long time. They've got a great reputation, great history, and they build a tremendous race car. High above, some smoke off in the distance there. I'm not sure what's going on. We literally had a dumpster fire here yesterday.
Yeah.
I know everybody uses that as a joke terminology, but we literally did. Just across the front straightaway, there's a massive construction site dumpster, and that baby went up in flames yesterday and made for a smoky afternoon around Sebring.
It did. Well, welcome to Motorsport Television Deutschland, all the way from Germany. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. And LOL Racing is here, Nathan Shore. So it's the Dallara. Oh, well, Nathan, you're going to have to tell me how to say this. The Dallara Stradale?
Stradale.
Okay. That's what we're watching here. So thank you for that correction. I love, we do, so Ralph, if you're not used to this, we have a ton of experts that like to join us on here, and they will fill us in. We've got Sebastian from Poland watching us. We are worldwide on YouTube, so thank you guys so much for joining us as they come around. Cube 3 architecture, turn 1. Some great camera work. I love this shot kind of looking up the barrel of the front straight here.
It's one of those classic racing shots from around the country. There's certain venues that have a certain location that just provide that image, right? Of course, front straightaway, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 500 is one. Front straightaway here at Sebring is certainly another. The Corkscrew at Laguna Seca, another one. You see those images and you know instantly what you're looking at. It's Mission Foods turn 7 there.
Yeah, and Juan Gonzalez was with us here yesterday from Mission Foods, and had to leave us for the weekend because he has to go to a wedding. So we totally understand that, but love having Juan Gonzalez. But as you're looking at these images, Sebring is a different track. A lot of the tracks that we go to, like you were speaking of Laguna Seca, VIR, Road America, Watkins Glen, they have a lot of elevation changes and undulation. And so when you look at this on paper, Sebring looks like a pretty easy track. It is one of the most challenging tracks because it is very bumpy and it is basically built to throw the car off balance.
Well, you're using old runways in a lot of sections of this racetrack. This is an old B-17, B-24 Liberator airfield from World War II era, and it's been around for a long time, baking in this Florida sun. And yeah, it's pretty rough. And that's why so many teams come here to test in the early part of a year, A, because the weather is good, but B, because you know you're going to really put your car through its paces, see what it can survive, and if it breaks something, you know what you got to fix before you get to the smoother venues of later in the year.
Yeah, I was talking to the Audi team that runs, 24 hours of Rolex at Daytona. They run Le Mans, and they said if they can survive 6 hours of testing here at Sebring, they know they can do 24 hours anywhere else.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's also extremely tough on the driver. You talk to a lot of drivers who come here to Sebring and run on a regular basis, and they will tell you that, boy, it will beat your body up pretty big.
Yeah, LOL Racing echoes what you said, Ralph. They said Silverstone in the United Kingdom is kind of the same thing. And,
oh, yeah.
I heard that the B-17s, the B-24s, that basically this is where they would train them, this is where they'd take off from, and then they'd leave to the European theater from here.
That's right. That's right.
So a lot of history here, and it is still an active runway on just outside of like turn 15, 16.
Yep.
You'll still see planes flying in there. There's always things happening here. Love coming to Sebring. One of the things that I just really love about Sebring is the staff here. It does feel like every year we come here, we start our season here, but everybody here, starting at the top with Wayne, the president of Sebring, this is just one of those tracks that you can tell that they really enjoy this event. They have their biggest events of their calendar year next here, the 12-hour in just a few weeks, so it's great to come back to Sebring.
I knew Wayne Estes when he was a PR guy for Ford working in NASCAR. That's how far back awesome. I go with Wayne. And John Story, who is also here, used to do so many different things. He was worked with Robbie Gordon, worked at Daytona International Speedway. I mean, he did a lot of stuff, John. Very talented group of men, great guys, great racing people, and those are the kind of folks you want to see in charge of a legendary venue like this.
I've got a funny comment here from Cringy that says Sebring is more like Sebring because it does get rough. And we'll point out something that's kind of neat. So my friend Jim Pace, who is a very good race car driver and does a lot of things in vintage racing, big person behind HSR, which is another great vintage racing organization. But he was pointing out to me one day that he was an instructor here with Skip Barber after his great successes as a professional race car driver. And they had this line going under the bridge at 17 because if you take what you think is the intuitive racing line hitting the apex, it's really rough. And if you go outside, but they spray painted a blue dot on the bridge. That was Jim Pace's blue dot to tell you this is the fastest line because it's the smoothest line. The tires stay on the track. It's counterintuitive because it doesn't look like the fastest line if you drew it out, but we'll see this blue dot painted on the bridge at 17. So like I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is just kind of a test here at Sebring International Raceway. Right now we've got Group 10.
10:45, so everybody knows, it's 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time here in the U.S. for those of you around the globe, will be when we will do our first actual race of the day.
So, and we will probably go live. I think I'm going to go down and do a grid walk there for the International GT race that starts at 10:45, but we're going to probably get going maybe about 10:35. As we're seeing the cars and the drone come around, you're going to see some different drone shots here this weekend. But this is Group 10. This is our stock car group, IGT. It's kind of a catch-all group but we've got some great stock cars out there. The Bill Elliott car is out there in a few different iterations, I think. But the Front Row Joe Nemechek is here this weekend running with us in a truck.
Joe is a great guy, former NASCAR Busch Series champion. And ironically, he ran the truck series, but he didn't have any wins in the trucks, which is shocking.
His son is doing really well.
Oh, John Hunter is a very talented young man, as was Joe's brother, John, who John Hunter is named after, who tragically lost his life. But I'll tell you who is the best Nemechek of them all. Mom.
Really?
Oh, my gosh. Joe's mom is something else. You couldn't go to a race without having Mama Nemechek come up and give you a big hug and make you just feel good about being in the garage area at a NASCAR event, you know?
That's awesome.
She's fantastic.
So that Rocket Sports Oldsmobile that you see there, that's Ike Keeler. Ike is running the historic Trans Am with us. He's got a TA2 car and that car. But the cool thing about Ike Keeler, his dad made all the hardware for Ford Motor Company back in the day, all the door handles, all the chrome hardware. So he used to always kind of brag that Lee Iacocca once said, if you ever open a Mustang, you're shaking the hand of Mr. Keeler.
Huh.
And there he is right there, Ike Keeler in that Neo Life.
I remember calling a lot of races with that Rocket Sports car in it.
Now, would that have been in Trans Am or IMSA?
Yes.
Yeah, because back then I remember you could, just a few slight changes, you could go from a Trans Am car to, was it IMSA GTU or GTO?
GTO. Well, there's two categories. GTO was the over.
Okay.
GTU was the under. So you'd have the bigger, more powerful cars like that.
See, I'm already learning. I love this. I didn't know what the U and the O stood for.
Yeah, so
that's
the
awesome.
Over and the under. Under was usually more things like Mazda RX-7s, 240Zs, things of that nature. And then the over category was your Camaros, your Mustangs, your Corvettes, the Mercure when it ran the XR4 Ti, all that sort of stuff.
So high above here, Sebring International Raceway. And you know, Ralph, I've done this now for about 12 years, but it never gets old. Like, to know the history that has happened here, all the great racers that have raced here, it still does kind of make the hair stand up on my arms when I'm like, I'm lucky enough to be at Sebring.
Ben, there are, we talked about legendary views. There are certain venues around the globe, like Silverstone, that our friend chiming in there brought up. There are certain venues that just are different than the others. There's a lot of great racetracks out there, right? But Daytona, Sebring, Indianapolis, Laguna Seca, depending on what you're interested in, Knoxville Raceway if you love sprint car racing like I do, Indianapolis Raceway Park if you're a big drag racing fan. There's venues like that, Spa, the Nürburgring, Silverstone, that are just different than others. And this is one of those. And when you look at the list of names that have not only won here, but just competed here, it's the who's who, literally, of motorsports from around the world.
I really like how Sebring celebrates that history. If you, the building that we're in, that you can't see, but all the way down it, it has the nationality and who won that year.
Yes.
And it's really neat to see. And now we've been running races here for so long. This is a long building, but they've had to start a row 2.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just a really cool. I love that. And you were talking about, like, I don't know if it's just the thick history in these places, but they do feel kind of haunted. Not in like a bad way, but there's just an energy to these places. We were talking about Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and you definitely feel it when you go under the track there at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You feel something in your body that, like, wow, I'm in a very special place.
Yeah, there's definitely an aura to Indy and to Daytona for sure. When you come through the tunnels, there's no doubt even though some of those legends are still there, like Richard Petty at Daytona, for example, you feel the presence of the king before you even see him.
So Cringy is saying he has been a motorsports fan since 1989, and I echo that. I went to my first motorsports race in 8th grade at the Indianapolis, at the Indy 500.
Okay.
Turn 4, front row, and you can tell I have some pretty bad problems with it.
There's an old Clint Boyer car in the wall. Well, that's a shame. I always thought that Jack Daniels paint scheme was one of the best, too. That should be Donnie Etherly out of Hendersonville, Tennessee. Well, that explains why he likes the Jack Daniels part of it, right?
I'm from about an hour away from Lynchburg, Tennessee, where Jack Daniels is made. Franklin, Tennessee.
So you'll be the one bringing it next round at Road Atlanta?
Yeah, we can do that, yeah. Yeah, in fact, one of our racers, I won't say his name because he might not want this public, but every year buys a barrel. And it's his own named barrel where they burn it on the top, and every once in a while he'll bring special selections from his own barrel of Jack Daniels to the races.
That's great. I love Jack Daniels and the fact that it's a classic American company, just like Harley Davidson, and you hear this history, or a Levi's or Coca-Cola.
And they're still doing it the same way they did it.
And you hear the history of how they got to where they are. It's very interesting.
I have to brag on my friend there you saw there in that Red Bull car. Looked like a Scott Speed car to me. That is my friend Frank Markham. And you think about vintage racing, but we're going to see this later on. He developed with two other of our vintage racers this thing called the low car recovery sled. It's in use at Sebring behind the tow truck, and it picks up low cars because one time a tow truck hurt the front end of the GT40 that he was racing, this car here. But he's going off there at 7. Might have had some brake issues, just playing it safe. But Frank is actually a world-famous horse veterinarian and is an absolute celebrity at the Kentucky Derby, lives in Kentucky, and he has developed a kind of like a silicone gel that can be injected into the joints of a thoroughbred and lets it compete in racing a little bit longer and is better for the horses. So you walk around with him at the Kentucky Derby, it's like walking around with Roger Penske at the Indy 500.
I've never had a chance to go to the Derby, although I was made a Kentucky Colonel, which is pretty cool.
Does that mean you ate a whole bucket of fried chicken?
No. It's a special honor that they bestow upon individuals at different times, and it was just really cool to be given that honor. But I have not had a chance to go to the Kentucky Derby, something I truly want to do. I guess I have to get a big hat and a mint julep, right? But I did just read yesterday, I think it was, I saw they're going to do some $200 million in renovations to the track there, which would be interesting to see what they do.
Well, mentioning the Kentucky Derby, I went to dinner with Kim Perella and Tony Perella the other night.
Now, that's a great car right there.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's
Sorry
fine.
about that. An old Ricky Rudd Motorcraft 15. Ricky Rudd, one of the grittiest race car drivers I've ever seen. Do you know the story of him taping his eyes open?
No.
Oh, yeah. So Ricky Rudd crashes at Daytona in the what was then called the Twin 125s, and this is back before we started knowing about concussions and everything like we do now. Very early in his career, and his eyes swelled shut, black and blue and all that. So he wasn't about to miss the race, so he literally taped his eyes open and got in the car and ran the race. I'll show you a picture. I know
that is crazy.
You can't post it.
That can't be safe because you have to moisturize
Again,
the eyes.
It wasn't in the days like we are today.
But Carlos Gann in that Ricky Rudd, and we talk about this a lot, but that's my era of NASCAR that I really enjoy because the cars still look like the cars that they were. And now we're in such a silhouette like we're seeing here with this Red Bull car that it kind of resembles the car that it was. As you see Frank Markham just kind of, I feel like he's just kind of trying to get his marks here at Mission Foods Turn 7 and just, oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm looking at a picture right here of Ricky Rudd. That is crazy.
When he ran the Wrangler colors.
But also, I like the names back then, like Ricky Rudd, Dick Trickle, Ward Burton.
Yeah, you can go back even further and get some of the best names in the history of racing, like Fireball Roberts.
Yeah.
Smokey Eunuch. Incredible history. Just down the road, about 2 hours from here, north and east is where you find the Daytona International Speedway from here at Sebring.
Oh, we've got a shout out to you. Hayes Lewis says, hey, is that Ralph? Great to hear you. Haven't heard you in a while. What else are you up to? So we've got some questions for you.
That's great. I appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in. Glad you happy to hear my voice. And a lot of people tell me it's like fingers on a chalkboard, so not everybody all that thrilled to hear it, but I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, we're going to do the full season here with Ben and the folks at Trans Am and TA2 and SVRA. It's going to be a fun season. Ben going all around the globe, or all around the country at least, doing stuff. And then I've got snowmobile drag racing next week, and then we'll be doing World Supercross at the end of the year. So,
wow,
busy season ahead.
Well, I'm so happy to have you here. My friend Jonathan Green, who was in the booth with me,
Jonathan
taught me
very well.
so much, and so I'm just so anxious to learn from you. So send us away, Ralph.
Well, we're going to have some more racing coming up at 10:45 a.m. is when we're going to have our first event, which will be IGT coming up. So for now, I guess our guys are going to just kind of continue to work. Our live race media folks are going to continue to get everything ready to go, and we will be back with you in about an hour to get ready for that first race of the day. So stay tuned. Just keep yourself locked into the stream so you don't miss a thing when we come back at 10:45. We'll see you folks then.